The first time Olivia Mercer laughed at Daniel Whitmore's jealousy, he told himself it was harmless. The second time, she did it in front of her ex. And by the third time, Daniel realized she was not trying to comfort him anymore. She was studying how much discomfort he would tolerate to stay with her. It happened at a dinner party in Westport, Connecticut, the kind of house where every room looked casually expensive and every conversation felt slightly performative. Daniel stood near the kitchen island, watching Olivia speak to Ethan Calloway, her ex. They were standing too close. Not intimately, but comfortably enough to say they had unfinished access to each other. When Olivia caught Daniel looking, she smiled and walked over. Then she touched his wrist and said, "It's kind of cute how jealous you get when I'm with my ex." She paused just long enough for Ethan to hear the next line. "Maybe you're more insecure than I thought." Daniel felt the room change around him. Not because anyone said anything, because humiliation is often quiet when it first arrives. He looked at her and said, "I'm not uncomfortable because he's your ex." Olivia tilted her head. "Then why?" "Because you enjoy making me uncomfortable." For 1 second, her expression hardened. Then she laughed and called him dramatic. That word stayed with him all night. Because dramatic is what people say when they want to make your perception sound unstable. Olivia was not messy. She did not scream. She did not throw phones or send reckless messages. Her style was cleaner than that. She said sharp things softly, then watched whether Daniel defended himself or tried to win her back. He had been dating Olivia for 9 months. She was polished, intelligent, socially effortless, and impossibly composed. He was a corporate attorney in Stanford. She worked in luxury brand strategy in Manhattan. From the outside, they looked like a powerful, elegant couple. Inside the relationship, things were starting to feel different. Olivia liked being admired. Daniel liked being steady. At first, those qualities fit together. Then they slowly turned against each other. She began treating his calm as something to test. He began treating her charm as something to decode. That night, back at his townhouse in Darien, she said he had embarrassed her. Daniel stared at her and asked, "By telling the truth?" "You were sulking." "No, you were. You told me I was insecure in front of your ex. I was teasing you. You were establishing leverage." Olivia crossed her arms and laughed without warmth. "You always make everything sound like a courtroom. And you make everything sound harmless when it isn't." They did not resolve it. The next morning, Olivia acted as if nothing had happened. She made coffee. She kissed his cheek. She started talking about a dinner plan for next weekend. Daniel finally asked, "Are you going to apologize?" She looked genuinely confused. For what? That unsettled him more than anger would have, because it meant she did not just excuse her behavior. She had reorganized it inside her mind until it felt justified. "For what you said last night." Olivia took a sip of coffee and said, "If it bothered you that much, maybe it hit a nerve for a reason." Daniel recognized the move immediately. She was shifting the focus away from what she did, toward what he must be feeling to deserve it. He said, "You don't get to provoke someone and then use their reaction to explain your behavior." She shook her head. "You need to be the reasonable one so badly that everyone around you feels judged." That line hit him, because it contained enough truth to be effective. Daniel did intellectualize conflict. He did speak carefully. He did sometimes sound more analytical than emotional. But partial truth can still be used like a weapon. They both went to work without fixing anything. That afternoon, while Daniel was in his office, he got a message from an unknown number. It was a screenshot, a text thread between Olivia and Ethan. Only 3 lines were visible. "Ethan, he still thinks I'm the problem, doesn't he?" "Olivia, he think a lot of things." "Olivia, sometimes I swear he needs to feel morally superior to breathe." Daniel stared at the screen for a long time. Then he turned his phone face down and said nothing. He did not text her. He did not confront her immediately, because he understood something very clearly. The first move after humiliation often decides whether you keep your dignity or give it away trying to be understood. That evening, Olivia called and asked if he wanted sushi. Her voice was light, normal. That made it worse. When he got home, she was at the dining table with her laptop open and a candle lit beside her, like she had staged calm in advance. Daniel placed his keys down and asked, "Who sent me the screenshot?" Her face changed instantly. Not surprise. Calculation. What screenshot? He slid the phone across the table. She read it and said, "That's incomplete. Is it fake?" "No." "Then what's missing?" She shut her laptop. Ethan was venting. "And you agreed." "I was diffusing." Daniel looked at her in disbelief. "You told your ex that I need to feel morally superior to breathe." Olivia's patience cracked. "Because sometimes you do." There it was. No softness. No denial. Just the truth without shame. He asked, "Why are you still talking to him like that?" "Because he was in my life for 6 years. At some point, history stops being loyalty and starts being access." That line hit her. He saw it. But instead of reflection, she reached for anger. "You thought dating me meant I would reorganize my life around your comfort." "No." Daniel's voice stayed calm. "I thought it meant I wouldn't be mocked to your ex like a private joke." Olivia grabbed her bag and said she was tired of feeling cross-examined. Then she left. Not dramatically, just cleanly, like someone who preferred exits that could still be defended later. She texted the next day that she needed space. Daniel replied, "Take the space you need." Then he called his older sister, Brooke Whitmore Ellison. Brooke listened quietly. Then she said, "Do you want comfort or accuracy?" "Accuracy." She destabilizes people when she feels herself losing control. Daniel sat with that. Then Brooke said something harder. "You stay too long in relationships where your main role becomes interpretation." That hurt because it was true. Daniel had a habit of treating emotional disrespect like a communication issue. He believed patience could heal almost anything. Brooke said, "It's only a communication problem when both people want clarity." On Monday, Olivia came back to collect clothes. She rolled her suitcase downstairs and stopped when she saw him in the kitchen. For the first time in days, neither of them pretended this was normal. "This doesn't feel like us," she said. Daniel looked at her and answered, "It feels like I finally accepted what you've been willing to be with me." That landed harder than shouting would have. Olivia stared at him and said, "You make one hurtful thing into a whole personality diagnosis. And you make a whole pattern sound like one moment." She looked away first. That told him everything. Then he asked the question he had been carrying for weeks. "Are you still in love with Ethan?" "No." "Then why keep him this close?" Olivia hesitated. Then, almost against her own will, she said, "I liked knowing you cared more." Daniel felt the room go cold, because suddenly everything made sense. The teasing, the triangulation, the private contempt. She had not wanted reassurance. She had wanted asymmetry. She wanted to feel slightly less invested than he was. Slightly safer. Slightly more powerful. He asked, "So if I stopped chasing, the relationship stopped feeling secure to you?" She didn't answer directly. She didn't need to. He said, "Intent doesn't erase pattern." For the first time, Olivia looked tired instead of polished. "So what now?" Daniel took a breath and said, "Now we stop pretending this is a healthy relationship having a rough week." She sat down. Then, more quietly than he expected, she asked, "You think I'm cruel?" He thought about it before answering. "No." He held her gaze. "I think you're frightened of vulnerability." She laughed once under her breath. "That sounds generous." "It isn't." Daniel leaned forward slightly. People who are terrified of being emotionally exposed often become very skilled at exposing others first. That was the first true thing either of them said that did not feel like an attack. He admitted something too. "I kept confusing patience with boundaries." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "I wasn't trying to hurt you." He believed her. Partly because many people do real damage without fully intending the size of it. They want leverage, distance, control. They do not always realize how much it costs the other person. The breakup itself was quiet. No screaming. No dramatic betrayal revealed at the last second. Just two adults moving through the small administrative grief that follows a broken relationship. She took her products from his bathroom. He boxed up the books she had left on his shelf. They ended dinner reservations, canceled shared memberships, returned each other's things. Adult endings are rarely cinematic. They're mostly practical, but that practicality can feel brutal. Every ordinary object becomes evidence that a future used to exist here. 2 weeks later, Olivia emailed him. Not texted, emailed. The subject line said, "I owe you better." Daniel opened it expecting a polished half-apology. Instead, it was clear. She admitted she had spoken unfairly about him to Ethan. She admitted she used humor when she wanted distance. She admitted she preferred emotional asymmetry because mutual vulnerability scared her. Then she wrote one sentence he would remember for a long time. "I don't think I loved you in a way that felt safe to you, and I need to stop calling that chemistry." Daniel read that line more than once, because it names something people often confuse. Intensity is not the same as intimacy. Uncertainty is not proof of passion. Sometimes what feels electric is just instability with better lighting. He replied the next morning, "Thank you for saying this clearly. I don't hate you, but I won't return to something that required me to keep doubting my own reality just to stay in it." She never answered. Months passed. Daniel's life grew quieter. Not exciting, not dramatic, just cleaner. He started running again before work. He had dinners with friends without feeling distracted. He spent Sundays with Brooke and her family, realizing how strange peace felt when he had spent so long mistaking emotional tension for importance. Then one summer evening, he saw Olivia again at a charity dinner in Greenwich. She looked as elegant as ever. But from a distance, Daniel noticed something he had missed before. She did not look relaxed. She looked managed. When she approached him later, she asked if they could talk outside. On the terrace, under soft garden lights, she told him she was in therapy. Daniel almost smiled. "That's a direct opening." "I'm trying something different," she said. Then she looked at him and admitted, "I used to confuse distance with safety." He believed her, not because she seemed transformed, because for the first time she sounded embarrassed instead of defensive. She said, "I wanted people close enough to admire me and far enough away that they couldn't really hurt me." "That's a hard way to live," Daniel said, "and a hard way to love." He nodded. Then she asked, "Do you think we could have worked if I had been different?" Daniel answered honestly, "Yes." She inhaled sharply. "But you weren't. That was the whole truth. Not cruel, not romantic, just final." Then she asked the question that mattered most. "Did you love me?" Daniel looked at her and said, "Yes." She nodded. "I know that now." There was no second chance. No dramatic reconciliation. No ending designed to flatter nostalgia. Just two people finally honest enough to stop calling pain chemistry. And Daniel walked back inside with something more useful than closure. He walked back in with clarity. Because sometimes love is real and still not safe. Sometimes someone can mean everything to you and still require too much distortion of your own mind to keep them. And sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is not prove how much they can endure. It is deciding they no longer want a relationship where calm is mistaken for weakness and disrespect is repackaged as a joke. That was what Daniel finally understood. He had not lost Olivia because he was too jealous. He had almost lost himself because he stayed too long trying to make emotional instability feel like love.